Today on Fox News, what happened one after another was seriously insane. This Republican propaganda outlet just keeps getting worse and worse because they've finally reached the point where they realize they can't defend Trump's ridiculous policies anymore.
More Americans are working now than ever before in the history of the country.
Literally 1 million less than last year.
Okay, well then last year was a record.
They are the ones who panic more than their boss Trump himself. And here's the exact moment when Fox News is forced to show their audience the proof that Donald Trump is destroying the economy.
I'm still getting some of this data flowing in, Maria, but I got to start with the GDP read. This is the first reading of fourth quarter GDP. We came in at 1.4%. This is even below the range of expectations that we got for fourth quarter GDP. The expectation was 3%. We came in at 1.4%. We were just looking here in the studio at Atlanta GDP Now, which is sitting at 3%. I do want to add, though, again, as you know, this was the shutdown. We had a 43-day government shutdown in this quarter. That is certainly going to be one of the issues here. Now, let's go back to what we're seeing as with regards to the other pieces of data, Maria. Let me give you personal income. That came in at 0.3%. That is in line with expectations. Spending, 0.4%. That is consumption. That is in line with expectations. Now let me get into the PCE numbers right now. The PCE index, the actual was a gain of 0.4%. The expectation was a gain of 0.3%. Jason was just saying that that was one of the critical numbers that he was looking at there in that data. As for the rest of it, within the PCE price index, if you strip out like food, energy, housing, you see that 2.8% number that was on target with regards to the estimates that we were getting. The personal savings rate coming in at 3.6%. And again, that core number coming in 0.4%. The estimate was for a gain of 0.3%. So a little bit hotter than expected here with regards to the PCE price index. But again, with that 2.9%, that year-over-year number, that's just slightly above what we were looking for, Maria. So again, pretty in line right now with what we were expecting as far as PCE income and spending. The surprise, as I just gave to you, was that first read on fourth quarter GDP with the caveat of the shutdown, Maria.
Yeah, all very important information, Cheryl. Thank you for that analysis. And Jason, I got to get your take here because the growth is obviously a lot slower than we expected, but it's a noisy quarter because of the shutdown. And that's what the Democrats want to see, which is why we're in a partial shutdown again with the Department of Homeland Security. Your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I just find it hard, Maria. Corporate profits are up about 13%. S&P 500 companies have largely reported they're up 13% for the fourth quarter. Profit margins are hitting a new high. So I have to say I'm a little skeptical. And of course, the GDP numbers are subject to revision. And as you pointed out, it's during a shutdown, government shutdown. Yeah. So I have to say, if you're an investor.
Initial reaction from small businesses, a group called We Pay the Tariffs. It's a coalition of 800 small businesses across the country who weren't happy about the tariffs, saying they were the ones paying the brunt of these costs. They just put out a statement saying they're sending immediate letters to the White House and Congress demanding, quote, full, fast, and automatic tariff refunds. So as we're talking about how these refunds are going to work for these tariffs, how messy do you envision this getting?
You guys can see how bad things are getting. Even Fox is admitting it. Deep down, everyone in the Republican Party knows they've seriously messed up, and now they're just pretending to be tough. And because of that, Trump's favorite MAGA political comedian got dragged by the only liberal host on Fox.
Right, and they might be
I don't think they did. I don't think they did.
Hauling ICE agents into Congress, Jessica. We're on a retribution tour. Can you at least let us finish?
No, I think that you should end early.
Okay.
Take the L, as Donald Trump should on the tariffs. Obviously, the outrage over this is completely fake. Like anyone who supports Donald Trump, who has been on a revenge tour, he even won in 2016 and was still mad about everything. Since he's been back in office, he's been going against his political enemies, Comey, Tish James, John Bolton, obviously the seditious six. I mean, he's had some really embarrassing defeats because he can't get a decent prosecutor to do anything with them. And grand juries are like, well, this isn't a real case. I'm not going to indict those folks. But I know that it's all fake outrage. I will say a story that did not get any coverage because there's just so much going on was Donald Trump, who's been putting, his face on all of the bureaucracy buildings around D.C. and he put his face also on the DOJ, which is supposed to be impartial. And you remember you were so upset about when Bill Clinton ran into Loretta Lynch or anything that Democrats did in the past. And I know you guys would be very unhappy if a tan suit upset you, if Barack Obama's face.
A tan suit never upset us. That was a joke. Although
I actually did it. We AI imaged Barack Obama onto the DOJ. You guys would be happy with that?
No, but you know what? You guys went pretty far with every kind of flag imaginable that wasn't the American flag.
Oh my God!
We had to put up with that.
The pride flag and Donald Trump's face on the DOJ saying Pam Bondi reports just to me only and will do my bidding personally and doesn't care about the Constitution or the law. Any of that is the same as having a pride flag on an embassy.
And now comes the most insane part of that Fox moment, when Stephen Miller made the MAGA host realize what kind of guy he really is. So recently, Stephen Miller went on Fox to talk about the Supreme Court decision regarding Trump's stupid tariffs. And guess what happened? Just like always, Miller ended up having a complete meltdown. Miller is the type of person who thinks that if he raises his voice loud enough, people will assume he's speaking facts.
Supreme Court for a second. Justice Thomas said so brilliantly and eloquently, the language of the statute is clear. Under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the president has the authority to regulate foreign trade. And going back to the founding of our country, the term regulate has always meant and included the power to levy duties. But here's the good news, Laura. As cowardly, as horrendous as the Supreme Court ruling was, as poorly as it reflects on John Roberts' court and the continued torturing of our statutes and our Constitution, here's the good news. The court also affirmed the president has the authority under Section 301, Section 232, Section 122, Section 338, and many other provisions of federal law that the president can levy tariffs on foreign nations. So his program will not only be fully reconstituted, but it will be expanded. And one more point, Laura. The Supreme Court also affirmed that under IEPA, the president has authority to restrict, impede, deny, license, or even fully embargo any foreign trade. So the net result of all this is we're going to keep and grow the tariffs to bring back American manufacturing, which keeps prices low by incentivizing products to be made here in America. But it also means that President Trump has even more tools when it comes to dealing with foreign countries that undermine our security.
Stephen Miller attacking Supreme Court because they said the president does not have the power to create taxes on his own. The court said that only Congress can do that. That's just how the US Constitution is written. The Constitution clearly says that Congress controls taxes, not the president. Supreme Court wasn't attacking anyone. They were simply making sure the rules were followed. Attacking the courts for doing their job doesn't show strength, it shows frustration. When leaders lash out at judges for enforcing the Constitution, it's often a sign they know they overstepped their power. And I'm pretty sure Laura Ingraham thinks deep down how stupid this take really is.
Right, but that is why Congress gave this authority to the president, because you cannot separate out the regulation of trade with foreign countries from the conduct of our foreign policy. That's why Congress enacted the International Emergency Economic Powers Act in the first place. And again, as Justice Thomas pointed out in his dissent, it's the same basic statutory construction that Nixon used in his day to levy tariffs. And nobody at the time questioned the meaning of those words. So again, as you mentioned, the Supreme Court is torturing the plain meaning of the statute. It's a shameful ruling. It's a cowardly ruling. But the good news here, Laura, is that President Trump, as he said today, has the full authority affirmed by the Supreme Court to reinstitute and expand the tariff program to keep the cost of living low, to keep jobs flooding back to America, and to protect our core national security. And that's what really matters at the end of the day.
Miller is the type of guy who would sell his phone just to buy a charger. This moronic take is literally about violating US law, and what's really disturbing is that they want to change the law from the inside in an extremely radical way. He's basically saying he knows the law and the Constitution better than the members of the Supreme Court. Stephen should be charged for violating the Constitution. He has pushed for policies that go against it so many times. Tell me, what do you think about this idiot?